Are you tired of being happy and in control of your life? Wouldn't you rather dwell on past childhood traumas or that time you embarrassed yourself in front of a bunch of people? Well, good news, because now you can go to the sunken place. You don't even have to leave your house. Just think about what a moron you are and experience the disassociation of the sunken place.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. A little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Break.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, daddy.
I can't believe that Brian prefers big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, I'm just such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Conk. This is your host, Blam Blonson. I'm Firmos, blah, blah, blah. And across from me sits Danny Dans, the performed tit. Okay. Got a great show for you today. We're going to be covering a modern classic that I told Erin that we're doing this movie today, and she's like, you haven't done that one yet? Seems like a no-brainer. We're going to be talking about Get Out, Jordan Peele's freshman debut film.
Go on, get.
And sometimes reading like some of the trivia and stuff on his, I forgot how recent this was. Like, this is not very long ago. This is 2017.
I had a lot of, during that first year, we started in 2018, in the middle of 2018, and during that first year or so, I had so many pangs of like, we need to do Get Out, we need to do Get Out, we need to do Get Out, and then it just kind of like gradually dropped off. So, pleasantly surprised that you chose to do this one today.
Right. Yeah. So if you're new to Horror Movie Talk, how we do it is we give a brief synopsis and review of the movie, and then we get in deeper spoiler territory after we make the announcement that we're going to do that. Give a score on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being bad, 10 being good. And then after we get through all that stuff, we will be playing a game called Taglines. Perennial favorite. But yeah, let's talk about Get Out. Again, this is one that like feels kind of egregious that we haven't covered yet, because every time we do kind of a modern elevated horror movie, it does really well. And this is definitely in the pantheon of the movies within the last 5 years that are like super meaningful to the genre and where it's going for the next little while.
Yeah,
we watched Get Out, and it still holds up. Here is the trailer.
You got your toothbrush?
Check.
Do you have your deodorant?
Check.
Do you have your cozy clothes?
Got that.
What?
Do they know I'm black?
Should they?
You might wanna,
Mom and Dad, my black boyfriend will be coming up this weekend. I just don't want you to be shocked that he's a black man.
I ain't never seen you like this before, bruh.
Meeting families, taking road trips. Don't come back all bougie, man.
Come back, get your damn pants up to your damn stomach.
So you guys coming up from the city?
Yeah, we're just heading up for the weekend.
Can I see your license, please?
He wasn't driving.
I didn't ask who was driving. I asked to see his ID.
Call me Dean and hug me, my man.
So how long has this been going on, this thing? We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go.
Do you smoke in front of my daughter?
I'm gonna quit.
She'd take care of that for you.
How?
Hypnosis.
I'm good, actually.
You ready for this?
How bad can it be?
So look, I go do my research. Apparently, a whole bunch of brothers been missing in this suburb.
But it's cool.
Bro, how you not scared of this, man?
Good to see another brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
Rose, we gotta go.
Is everything okay?
Rose, the keys. Just get the keys.
I don't know where they are.
Rose?
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Mom, it's a terrible thing to waste. Terrible thing to waste.
If there's too many white people, I get nervous.
No.
Mom, it's a terrible thing to waste.
I feel like the trailer on this is almost even better than the movie. Like in this case, that's a big compliment from me. Like,
right.
Trailers are usually, I'm so irritated with how they're presented, but I remember this trailer, and I think Jordan Peele has a good deal to do with the trailers for his movies, because all the trailers for every movie he's made, all three, just each time have got me just so amped up to see that movie. Just like, oh, this is going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that trailer, I remember distinctly seeing that in the movie theater the first time, and I felt like I was part of an inside joke, you know?
Right.
Because I was like, do these people appreciate the genius
right
of the concept of this film, where the horror is just white people?
Right.
That's the scariest thing from this guy's perspective.
Uh-huh.
Just white people.
White.
Yeah, the film completely delivers on that premise so perfectly.
Yeah.
It's still very, very impressive. Okay, so Chris Washington, played by Daniel Kaluuya, is taking a vacation with his girlfriend to meet her family. Played by Allison Williams, his girlfriend Rose convinces Chris that her family will be perfectly fine with her dating a black man, despite the fact that she never told them about his race. The weekend begins pleasant, albeit slightly awkward. However, as time goes on, Chris notices weird behavior from especially the black employees of the family, but also later from party guests. Chris becomes suspicious that something is wrong, but before he can get out, he is caught in this family's trap and has to escape a fate. He has to escape a fate worse than death.
Oh no! Everyone gets more white people than they bargain.
Get Out is Jordan Peele's first film as a writer, director, producer also. And he delivered way beyond expectations given his sketch comedy background. I don't think enough can be made about this, that he turns out to be an expert at building tension while utilizing and commenting on latent racial tension in the U.S. Apparently, he is probably still the most successful black writer, director, producer, like in terms of how much money he personally made off of this project that was all him. Like, it's one of the biggest success stories for a freshman director ever.
Who's that billionaire director, black director who does the Medea movies? He's like a fucking billionaire.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely made his own world. Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna confirm that. Which is impressive that you can become a billionaire off of Medea.
Well, tap into a market. And
what does that mean?
It out.
Whoa, hey, whoa.
So I already said that. It's really impressive how this film gives a really nuanced social commentary on what it's like to experience racism. Not in an overt way, but in a very tangential but very visceral way.
In a white liberal way.
Right. So Peele didn't choose the easy target of right-wing Southern whites as the danger to Chris. He specifically used an affluent, quote-unquote, New York liberal type family. It expresses the false sense of security of a masked racism right below the surface that others and marginalizes black people.
Yeah.
The quality of this commentary is really magnified by all of the racial allegory horror movies that have come out since. Just watch Antebellum or the Candyman remake to see how blunt these allegories can be.
Yeah, it can be handled really poorly.
Yeah.
Shockingly. This super contentious topics that people want to make bold statements on it's a razor edge to walk. And
yeah, where a lot of and they're definitely riding off of the wake of this movie. Like the fact that this type of movie, this type of commentary can make a lot of money, because makes sense. I mean, the zeitgeist of the time is very much on commenting on like the marginalization of people, and especially like the long-term marginalization of black people in America, especially by those in power. But then you see all these movies that are like, yeah, people buy this shit. And they go, well, the moral of this movie is racism is bad, okay?
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, well, fucking duh. Yeah, it's like, stuff used to happen. It's like, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Antebellum was real ham-handed.
And it's all like...
But it had, God, the most gorgeous woman on the planet.
Right.
What was her name?
Lady Antebellum?
Gorgeous, beautiful angel. Yeah, by the way, Tyler Perry is worth $1 billion. Yeah. $1 billion off of Medea.
God, I can't remember what her name is now.
Yeah, it's gonna...
Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe, thank you. Oh.
Yeah, go back to our Antebellum episode where we just drool over Janelle Monáe for the entire episode.
Just us ruining Mike after Mike.
But yeah, I mean, this really highlights that the pit of falling into the super cliche, like, this is racism. And it's all just ignorant, stupid white people are like, not in my neighborhood. You gotta keep on walking, black man.
Okay.
And it's all just like this caricature of...
Do that impression a little too well.
This caricature of, 1950s Southern ignorant racist. And that's like what every... villain is in these movies. Whereas this one, it's like, oh no, these people are quote unquote woke.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
I can't be racist. I voted for Obama.
And you see the character that is just very, very leery and suspicious and paranoid about, like, yeah, they seem cool, but I know better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to let my guard down, and rightfully so, because all of a sudden weird shit starts happening. And he's like, why?
Yeah.
Why is this weird shit happening? So anyways, this is another easy 10 out of 10 for me. It's such a good movie. It holds up so well and gives this perspective so well that it's hard to find fault with it. And on its own, just as a story and as like the characters experiencing a thing and the payoff in the end. It's just all very, very satisfying and intriguing, and I love it a lot.
This, I kind of had this feeling about this movie. I kind of knew that this was going to happen upon my second viewing, which is it's one of these movies that works best on first viewing, and man, does it work. On that first viewing, it is a home run because it's novel in a lot of ways, but you can't put that novelty back in the box. It's sprung. Once it's out, now it's so much a part of the zeitgeist of the culture, but also of your mind. It just has, it's like a virus that just, you get antibodies to. I've built up antibodies to this at this point because I've thought about this movie a decent amount since the first time I watched it. It was very impressive. That first time I watched it, I was delighted in all the right ways. But the second viewing is much less impactful because it already had such a profound effect on me that first time that the second time I just kind of like, oh yeah, yeah, oh that was good. It's a much more subdued, much less impressed, because I think I've just run it through in my mind so many times, and not only run it through in my mind, like it's like you said, it's been parodied and attempted multiple times since then to varying degrees of success. Them, Antebellum, I don't know, a bunch of movies. Yeah. Us. He, and not only that, like Us was kind of like a shittier attempt at this same similar sort of thing.
Yeah. It was a commentary on kind of a more broad thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But still.
But yeah, if you're looking at the success of pulling off what it's trying to say, this is a much more successful film.
Right. But that being said, it's a very impressive movie that I think made a new kind of, maybe not made it, but perfected a new kind of very, very, very tongue-in-cheek, almost black comedy genre, a staple of horror, something to be aspired to, that clearly a lot of people have aspired to. A lot of people took on the challenge of trying to capitalize on this.
Yeah.
And none of them can. This is a masterclass in that.
Yeah.
I think how it hit me on the second viewing was, like I said, less impressive. If you'd caught me on the first viewing, I'd have been a 10. And actually, thinking about how important it is in a lot of different ways makes me go, you should probably give it a 10, David. But it just doesn't feel like a 10 to me right now. It's more like a 9. But
interesting, because
with all that being said, it's pretty undeniable in a lot of different ways. I do, on this second viewing, wish it had gone a little harder in some aspects, but I can't quite put my finger on them.
I feel this movie is best experienced in 2 viewings. Like I almost say the opposite, because the first viewing is like, yeah, you experience it and you're going through it with the character, and it kind of earns the fucked up ending, the twist ending, to where you're like, yeah, I'm on board, because all of the dread and tension has built up to a point where you're like, oh, finally, now we know what's going on. The second viewing is so interesting, seeing all of the weird little things and interactions that like just felt off, and you're like, what?
Yeah, and now
Why?
You know.
And in the first viewing, you can interpret it as like, oh, these are awkward white people that like don't know how to act around black people, or don't realize what they're saying is super racist.
Right.
In the second viewing, you're like, oh, they're talking about what's going to happen in the ending, and they all have ulterior motives to talking to him.
Right. And also, yes, and you get to internalize it a lot more on the second go through.
Right.
You get to, like, the sunken place has so much more meaning.
Right.
That second viewing. The second viewing, I was able to contextualize the sunken place in a way that was meaningful to me, which is like, oh, this is you being put in your place.
Right. Yeah.
This is you being told to sit down. You're among adults.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Which is a universal experience, no matter who you are.
Right.
You know, no matter who you are, you've been made to feel inferior, small, and hey, shut the fuck up, kid.
Right.
Go sit down.
Right.
And watch the adults for a minute.
Yeah.
And that was the most impressive part about the second viewing, was my realizations about a lot of the interactions, who these characters stand for, kind of caricature-wise or like stereotypically wise. Because on first viewing, I took it as a blanket statement against generally white people. But I think it's a little bit more targeted in its portrayals. Maybe not in its message, but definitely it's taking a hard swipe at quote-unquote woke white people. And I don't think anyone has internalized that to a meaningful degree. Otherwise, you'd start to see a significant change in the actions of woke white people, of quote-unquote woke white people. So I don't know, maybe now actually having said that, a lot of that, it does feel like it's leaning a lot more towards a very important place, so maybe more of a 10, but...
Yeah. And also the probably the most interesting character to watch on the second viewing is Allison Williams' character, the girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Because that, all of a sudden, like, all of her actions, you're like, become so much more nefarious. Because
she's the ultimate manipulator.
Because they really sell it. And like Jordan Peele talks about it, like, he told her you're actually playing two characters, you know? Like, anyways, we'll get into it in the spoilers. So, before we get any further, got to give a plug to our sponsors. If you're listening to commercials right about now, you should know you don't have to. If you go to our Patreon and join in a certain tier, you'll get early access to episodes right after we finish editing them, as well as removing the ads. So check us out at patreon.com/horrormovietalk. Also, we've got a shop at horrormovietalk.com/shop where you can buy merch. We'll be expanding that with new shirts and hoodies and whatnot. So check that out and, buy our swag. Because there's going to be some awesome designs there from our resident artist, Dustin Goebel.
D-Gobs.
You can find him on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. And reach out to him. He takes commissions and very reasonable price. So if you've got a dream image of yourself blowing Robert Englund, you could make that happen.
Not that reasonable of a price. He's come to his senses a little bit and is now charging a fair amount. I'm gonna say that, hoping that he has come to his senses and is now charging a fair amount.
If you want to call and leave us a message, call our voicemail at 682-253-4468. Let's get into spoy blurbs. Bing.
Boy blurs.
Speaking of Bing, I think you had a point to make about Microsoft.
Oh, thank you.
Product.
I wouldn't have remembered this had you not done that. The first time I watched this movie, I was like, holy shit. This is one step away from Wayne's World, where they're like, the shameless product promotion really has no place in movies as he's eating Doritos and then
wearing a
Pepsi shirt.
starter jacket.
Yeah, and this movie, and a couple of Blumhouse movies around this time frame did this. They were like, we need a little bit more budget for this than our normal Blumhouse movies. We're going to supplement with Microsoft. Here you go. Microsoft phones. Remember the Surface tablets? Those too. We got those. But don't forget to plug it in. It does run out of battery quickly because it is a very heavy-duty software application. Oh, also, here's something to draw you directly out of the movie. A character Googling with Bing.
Do you ever Google with Bing?
That should be Bing's fucking commercial.
Google with Bing.
Google with us. Bing.com.
Google on Bing. Yeah. I gotta say, I don't use it that much, but...
Bing?
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah.
You don't say.
I gotta say, there are some uses for Bing where they've got Google beat. I'm not gonna lie.
Looking up Google to download it? Download Chrome?
That, number one. Number two, it's pretty decent as a porn search.
What?
Yeah. If you search their videos...
How did you learn that?
I heard it from Reddit, and I tested it out. I'm like, well, goddamn.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to Bing's video search and, search some fucked up, disgusting, vile pornography search words...
Yeah.
It's going to deliver some, videos to just the search engine where you can watch them just right there. You don't have to...
no, David.
Yeah.
Really?
So when they're searching for images, it's not bad.
Ew, David.
That's one of the things when you are the incumbent. You don't have to improve your product that much. So Google kind of rests on its laurels a lot of the time. And as time goes on, it's Google,
guys,
can you not be worse?
Guys, we are no longer the prominent porn search engine.
Oh my God, ew,
Well,
David.
when you've got new search engines that are trying to overcome the beast of Google, and they're like, maybe we can do this one thing much better than Google.
What do people
before they notice?
What does every dude search for on the internet?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what that is.
Right.
Would do that, but yeah, Google does really kind of. Well, now we're getting into weird fucking SEO talk where we're like, what's interesting? Talking about search results. But no, it's a good point.
I mean, we have expertise.
We do.
I'm curious. We could do a live comparison right now because I'll tell you what, Google image search sucks balls. It's pretty bad.
Okay.
In terms of delivering just irrelevant searches. Irrelevant. Most of the time it has you'll find what you're looking for. 99% of the time. But you definitely have to filter through a lot of crap sometimes.
Oh, golly. Are you okay, man?
I'm okay. I'm not going to die. Bing, I feel just delivers the thing that you're asking for. And a lot of it.
Oh. I'm so curious to know what you're searching for on Bing and just getting gobs of.
I don't know. We just watched Crimes of the Future. I was probably searching Lea Seydoux boobs.
She got a nice set. Nice set on her.
I'm pretty proud of us that we did not talk about that on the podcast or the afterpod for Crimes of the Future.
Didn't even come up.
Ruin the string here.
Although I think they're fakers.
They're fakers?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Those titties.
They're implants?
Yeah.
They're not even big enough to be worth it.
Well, you should have seen them before. Yeah.
I don't know. I've done some research, David.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well, we could have an open bet. Yeah, and y'all listen. Let us know.
Okay, so let's get into Get Out.
Let's.
So it starts out with the opening scene with Lakeith Stanfield. It's a great scene of his kidnapping and really sets the tone for the movie of it's a black guy walking down the suburban street And he's like, nope, not today. Which is...
Lakeith Stanfield is the guy you get to do monologue stuff.
Yeah.
He's so good at just acting off himself like a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
He's like low-key the black Jeff Goldblum. Just so interesting to watch.
Yes. Yeah, I can see where you're coming
from
with that.
Kind of like an eclectic aesthetic to how he presents himself, that he can come off in a very genuine way.
Yeah, he's extremely genuine in his delivery. It doesn't feel like you're watching somebody act. It feels like you're just watching somebody live.
Right.
With him.
So he's kidnapped by a guy in a knight's helmet. Did you notice that?
A knight's helmet?
Yeah.
What is a knight's helmet? Like a knight in shining armor?
Yeah.
I couldn't make that out.
Yeah.
I was watching on my phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's kidnapped, and then it cuts to Chris and Rose talking about this trip that's upcoming, and he asks her, do they know I'm black? And her reaction is, should they? Which is very much like a, I'm cool.
Yeah,
we don't need to make this a thing.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't a thing.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh, it's 2017.
Yeah.
I'm an empowered white woman who dates whoever she wants, and that
Right.
makes perfect sense to everyone all the time.
I mean,
it's like, bitch, no, it doesn't.
As a white viewer, you're like, we've moved beyond the times of guess who's coming to
Right.
dinner.
You want to pat yourself on the back a lot.
It's like, people are okay with it. But I'm sure black people are like, this is going to be awkward for them and for me.
And vice versa. It would be, I mean, if I were dating a black girl, for me it would be awkward to go to her family, I imagine, It would be awkward for them. They'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Or maybe not. Maybe they're super cool. I don't know.
God damn, what are all these other spices that aren't salt and pepper?
Your food tastes good. What is this? Hey, is this poison?
Why
are you trying to poison me with taste?
Oh, why are you vibrant and full of life?
Okay.
Where my life is.
Let's just bring it down a notch, It's all just that cool on this episode. Do you have that like thing in the back of your head being like, oh, we're talking about this could be dangerous?
Of course I do.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Live in the modern times.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is exactly, but you can easily do it.
Yeah. Well, there are wrong things to say.
Yeah. Rule number 1. On this episode, no use of the N-word. That would be the wrong thing to say in any situation. We haven't done it yet. Let's not start on this episode.
Okay. We'll just keep it for the afterpod.
Whoa, hey, no, I don't want to do it over there either.
Yeah, I'd love for people to just think we're just like the most racist people off the air.
You would love that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
I know them. I think some people do. Like, I know who they are as people.
Oh, okay.
They're masking it. I mean, some of our reviews make it sound like that.
Oh, yeah. There's always people who want to read, like, nefarious intent into shit. And they're usually this... And as this movie states, they're usually the fucking racist ones. You believe others to be racist because you're super fucking racist.
Right. I just want to call out... You mentioned Them, the series on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
We had much different... I don't think you finished it.
Yeah, no, I tried it. I got a couple episodes in, and it felt cudgel-like to me.
Yeah, see, I view it as another example of a really, really well-made piece of art in this genre. It's a little more blatant, and there's a little bit more of like the Billy Joe racist in it.
I think they made an intelligent decision setting it in the 50s. Right, because that allows them carte blanche to presume whatever they want and make it as cudgely as they want.
Right.
which I don't think is necessarily fair. It is more fair, and it's a smart decision on their part.
But it goes to some interesting places and really does it well. Some of the images and visuals and like in the end are so disturbing to me. Like there's like a minstrel show, like evil monster type character that's like Jesus, and it makes such a good point towards like the pushing people to the breaking point with just injustice, you know. Anyways, I would if I would recommend them as another stepping stone into this topic, because I think it's really high quality.
Yeah, you know what? I may go back and give that another shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how it strikes me a second time.
Okay, so a couple of things happen with Rose where on the second viewing you understand what's actually going on.
Yeah. Where
she's like getting him to quit smoking, and she's like very insistent on it, and she's like, she makes him throw out the cigarette to keep his body clean.
Right. Is that what she says?
No, but that's
the implication.
Yeah.
This is one of the great parts about this movie. Is it all the actions taken in this movie are taken for a nefarious purpose.
Right.
But they're also passably normal interactions that anybody would call you extremely paranoid for suspecting.
Right, but also, especially in the frame of being woke. So especially her reaction to the cop when they're pulled over and the cop asks for his ID even though he's not driving. And he's like, he's fine with it because he just wants to make a thing. She's like, no, what? He doesn't need to give that to you. And she's very...
He wasn't driving. I was driving.
She's very defensive for him because the first viewing you interpret it as like, no, she's protecting him because she's witnessing racism and calling it out as an ally.
And she is, but really,
she's definitely just stopping a paper trail from being there.
Right. She's preventing the cop from knowing the whereabouts of what is soon to be a missing person.
Right. And what's the other one? A lot of her actions, whenever you see her like talk him down from his reactions to weird stuff happening, and she's like after he meets the family, she's like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Why are they acting so weird? Because like her brother was gonna like try to choke him out, you know?
Yeah.
And her dad was like, oh, I would have voted for Obama a third time.
Ha ha ha
ha. And her mom was like something, but her reaction is like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I told you so. It was gonna be weird. And she's on the first viewing, you think she's actually mortified. On the second viewing, like every interaction with him during that weekend is to talk him down off the ledge and soothe him into making him feel like he has an ally here that truly understands him.
Yeah. Let me just say, her brother, Jeremy, played by Caleb Landry Jones, the most unlikable asshole in a decade worth of movies.
Right.
Which just says, great job. Great job, Caleb. You are a bang-up actor at being a super douche.
Right.
I fully believed you were a douche.
Yeah. He was great and just really really off-putting.
So
just like
upsetting. Because you've met that fucking guy. You just hate him.
Yeah.
You and I definitely do. Catherine Keener, what's the first role that comes to mind for you for Catherine Keener, the mom, in this?
I don't know what the first one. I know what one you're asking me for, which is probably being John Malkovich.
No, that's one of the two, right? That's one of the two that I was expecting. But where she lands for me is 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh, yeah.
I go, oh, it's the lady from 40-Year-Old Virgin. And, like, she's strangely sexually attractive to me because of that. Like, I'm like, yeah.
That's true.
She knows what she's doing.
Oh, yeah, she is the love interest in that. I forgot that's who he eventually goes after. Yeah, that's great. But notable, like, this is not the first film that Catherine Keener starred in whose plot was about entering someone else's mind.
Oh, okay, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
being John Malkovich was basically
her getting off on being John Malkovich.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's almost a sequel to it. It's a different world. But
yeah, it's pretty different. I remember the first time I saw it of being John Malkovich, I was just like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
Yeah, speaking of trailers, that's probably one of the absolute best trailer experiences I've ever had. Like, the most delighted I have ever been of, like, this is how much fun we can have in the theater watching a trailer and coming up with a bizarre concept for a film.
Yeah, it's a spectacular fun movie.
Just the lead up to being able to say, and John Malkovich as John Malkovich in Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff. And it's a surprisingly emotional movie.
Yeah.
Like, pulls no punches.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. All the actors and actresses in Get Out are dead on. And Bradley Whitford, the dad, is another one of these guys who's just under the radar. Fucking brilliant. Old school, gets it. Like,
well, it's really interesting because Peele cast him specifically. Like, he talks about casting the family as, you know, a liberal New York
rich
type
liberals, yeah.
White family, and he just looked at Bradley Whitford's character on what's that show called? The West Wing. He was like, that's it.
That guy.
Exactly that guy. And I think to a certain extent, apparently, according to the trivia, Bradley Whitford wasn't quite in on the joke.
Oh.
Because
really?
In the trivia it says, and I'm not sure if I believe this, but it says in the trivia that the line, I would have voted for Obama a third time, he didn't think was a joke.
I don't understand. I don't understand even what you're saying.
So the line that the father says is like, to put him at ease. He says, oh yeah, I love Obama. I would have voted for Obama. For the record, I would have voted for Obama a third time. Mm-hmm. Best president in my lifetime. And to the viewer, it's like that says something very specific about that character and is funny in context where it's like, okay, this is, in the experience of this black guy, it's like, okay.
A big eye roll moment.
Here's
your olive branch.
Yeah, you're trying to soothe me by pointing out something that's basically marginalizing me to this one specific thing about me.
Yeah.
The fact that my skin is black.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's meant as a joke, you know, for that's how the guy, you know, puts him at ease or whatever. And I think Bradley Whitford just like, oh yeah, this is just a genuine line. This is what everyone would say to this guy.
Whoa. He was so earnestly the character that he plays that he couldn't even see the irony.
Yeah, it's probably yeah, that makes sense. That would
Who wouldn't have voted for? That's stomach turning. That just, that's the fucking.
And it also, like, it talks about in the trivia how Jordan Peele in interviews talked about how when he wrote this, you know, he didn't really expect it to get made, but the time that he was writing it was right in the beginning of Obama's first term, and there was a lot of talk about, like, finally we're post-racism, and like, we finally solved it. have a black president. We never have to talk about this again. And he's like, people were really hopeful about this topic, and it just didn't seem like the right time to release kind of a really pessimistic view about this.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily,
oh yeah, luckily, super luckily, things didn't turn out that way at all.
People realize, like, oh, we're still racist.
Whew, this movie gets to get made. Oh boy.
So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting.
You know what this movie could have been called?
Save it for the tagline.
Oh, should I?
No, you can say it.
Let me think here.
You're just gonna waste it.
Okay, so this movie could have been called. I'm trying to think of the best way to deliver this. Could have been called "I Have a Black Friend." You know,
right?
That's everybody's action throughout this movie. Every white person's action is like, "Hey, you play golf? Tiger Woods." I know him. I have a black friend.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Tiger Woods. That thing that you can't possibly be. I can't be racist.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my super racist way to say that I'm not racist. So in that light, Bryce, I'd just like to put our black listeners at ease and say, I don't have any black friends. I don't know any.
Well, that explains a lot.
They're not here.
Yeah.
There's just none.
I have one black friend, so, you know, I'm good.
Oh, who is that?
Destiny. It's a friend from childhood. I
haven't
talked to him in a long time.
So you think you can just make up a friend,
I put him in
name
my
him
pocket.
Destiny, and say he's black? Doesn't that sound a little racist to you?
I didn't make him up.
I've never met this person.
Yeah. Well, you haven't met a lot of people I know.
I just think it's a little presumptuous that you name him Destiny.
Okay. All right. So he's introduced, like, and he also meets, like, the black workers for the family's name is Armitage.
Yeah, Armitage.
Armitage
is the family's name, and the workers are Walter and Georgina.
Yeah. And even Bradley Whitford's character comments, like, I know, black workers for a white family, super cliche.
Doesn't look great for us, does it?
Mm-hmm. And he meets Georgina and Walter, and something's off. Like,
yeah.
It's, you know, I think a lot of black people talk about seeing other black people in circumstances like, oh, one of us, good. And they take, like, comfort in knowing that there's someone there with their shared experience of, you know, being marginalized and understanding and having, like, a kind of a separate culture from the mainstream a little bit. And so when he goes to these other black people and he finds out, like, these guys are super white.
Yeah.
Like a caricature of white people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's true of, like, any black person in this house that comes to this house.
Got real worried there for a minute. Where you were going,
especially
with that
Lakeith Stanfield. When Lakeith Stanfield shows up again, is probably one of the greatest moments of, like, of comedy, which is Chris is like, "Hey man, good to see you," and holds out his fist to fist bump, and then Lakeith Stanfield just immediately, like, wraps his hand around the fist in a handshake,
right? Just
unironically.
Yeah, just completely missing the social cue entirely. That he should be getting.
Right.
Yeah. It's a weird stereotype in and of itself.
And you find out that these black workers for the Armitage family started out helping take care of the grandparents, and the grandparents have since died, and they stayed on. And later you find out that the grandparents stayed on.
They just happen to be caricatures of white people because they are literally white people.
Right.
Taking a ride within the bodies of their black employees. / really actually servants. Which is
yeah.
And it's a weird and interesting observation in and of itself, right? Which is it's kind of being is it some sort of reference to being an Uncle Tom? Is it you're betraying our culture by being an apologist for this, this, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other side of the coin where you say, oh, this shared experience and, oh, finally I have someone that's like me, is also kind of marginalizing, because really what it is, everyone's an individual and everyone should just realize that you can't have expectations about what a person is based on their appearance,
on the color of their skin, because that's kind of racist.
So the reality is, you could have, there are black people in reality that are just as white as these caricatures of these possessed black bodies in the movie. And the whole idea of oh, they're not really black. It's okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What are we serving now? What's the point of this conversation?
Yeah, it's just to other people.
And it's not my place to converse about it.
Whoa, what? How did you get there?
Because I'm white.
What?
I don't know about their experience, and I can't attest to make any judgments about it. A lot of early on, there's a lot of artistic shots and a lot of made of they crash into a deer on the way there, and I finally kind of figured out what the impact of that is later we learned that his mother, when he was a child, got hit by a car and was alone and died by bleeding out in the street, and he did nothing to save her, even though he suspected something might be wrong. He was just sitting at home, and he could have called 911 and reported her as missing or whatever. So he holds a lot of guilt about that. So when he hits this deer, it's kind of a stand-in for the trauma that he felt about his mother, which we later find out about. And that's exploited by Catherine Keener's character as the anchor for hypnotizing him and sending him to the sunken place.
Yeah. It's just taking a precious and powerful experience to him and using it to to make him extremely vulnerable at any given moment.
That is probably the most impactful and important scene of the movie, is Catherine Keener hypnotizing him under the guise of helping him quit smoking. And in terms of having a thesis for the movie, or having a having a metaphor for the message of the movie, is this experience of going to the sunken place.
Yeah.
To where their experience of being completely sidelined and minimalized and what's the M word that I'm looking for? Marginalized by people, and just that don't give a second thought to your agency or who you are as a person. That's the least important thing to them.
The adults are talking.
Yeah. So, and that works so well. It's so impressive how they communicated that visually and how impactful that scene is, seeing him act during the hypnotism and crying those silent tears, and then getting just shoved down into the sunken place, and his reaction of no, wait, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And apparently Jordan Peele, when he wrote that, he said like he ended up crying during writing that scene. It was so, it hit him so hard that he was like, he cried and was like pretty affected by it for the rest of the day.
You know, I want to backtrack just a little bit in the conversation to where you said that's not my experience and it's not my place to talk about it. Because I think I think that's actually the point of the movie. Because Jordan Peele does that in this movie about white people. And it gets the ball rolling. He makes, you know, bald-faced assumptions, claims, and characterizes people, other people, who based on their skin color, to make a point. But it gets the ball rolling. It gets the conversations started, right? It's a starting place to create discussion about this kind of thing. And I think it's that kind of courage to talk about something that you only have your experience in, right? You only have the white experience. He only has the black experience. Yet he's assuming to write a bunch of white characters. But he does it, and it works. Because he took a moment to like to show to use it as a toolbox to show to make his experience relatable to you and me, those of us who can't otherwise relate to his experience. So I think you do have a responsibility to comment on how things strike you the same way Peele did in this movie. Because as long as people are functioning in good faith and aren't assuming the worst about each other, like I don't assume that in making this movie, Jordan Peele hates white people. I take the movie on its own merit, right? I go, well, it was meant to get a point across. It was meant to start conversations and to be meaningful. I don't know. Does any of that...
I think we're talking about two separate things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Peele his goal is to tell the perspective of his own experience.
Yeah.
He does that well. Like, if I were to try to make this movie and try to, like, give the same perspective on,
yeah, no.
Bryce, you tell the story about how black people feel marginalized in society.
Oh, no. Okay, like, yeah, we are talking about two different things.
I have no right to even attempt that. It's like, that would be very foolhardy.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay, we are talking about two different things.
Yes.
I thought what you were trying to say when you said that was that you had no right to comment. But you do have a right to comment, but about your...
Yeah, I don't have right to comment on the black experience and their take or how they should take like people that are black but act quote unquote white. It's like it's not something that I should really care about having an opinion on or strongly like recommending how to take that. But my major takeaway from my perspective is what we need to come to is just treating people as truly individuals and make no assumptions on like what opinions they should have based on their background or what they look like or whatever. Like, it's like if you live long enough you realize like, oh well, that's not that generalization is almost never true. Like, to paint someone with a broad brush almost always is a dangerous place.
Mm-hmm.
And the only place where you can feel safe and justified about it is around things that you're so removed from that you can't confirm or deny whether you're right.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, white people are like this. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, does that mean that people that aren't white can't be like that? Or
right.
that's attributed to the color of their skin, or Yeah, it gets into dangerous territory. So, like, the closer you can get to, like, just withhold judgment until you know a person.
Yeah.
And you find out, first of all, it doesn't really matter what your take on them is.
Yeah.
And almost anything where you make assumptions is, like, it causes more harm than good most of the time.
Yep.
Even with people you know. Like, both you and me, like, know each other really well. Anytime I make an assumption on how you're going to take something or what you're going to do, almost always, like, comes back to bite me because...
No!
And, yeah, so that's the point I was trying to make.
That's a good point. Yeah. No, okay, I see where you're coming from now. I'm sorry I did that to your child. I realized that just now that you asked me not to do that kind of stuff months ago.
That's all right. I was just going to do it anyways. Yeah, if you've listened to the pod, this is probably a recurring circumstance where my 4-year-old son is asking me whether I'm done working, and I say no. This happens every 20 minutes or so.
It's become...
Or 5 minutes, or 2 minutes. It really is kind of a random grab bag.
It's become pronounced in your life to the point where when I will call you throughout the week...
Both times you called me yesterday, that happened, right?
But not only yesterday. Almost every time I call you, it's like I hear, Dad, don't worry. No. He's like the coyote falling off a cliff afterwards. He's like, oh.
The inverse is also pretty inversely cute, though.
Yay! I watched him when you said, yes, I'm done. Goes,
oh, good.
Oh, boy, yay! And he runs in the other room, starts playing. Mm-hmm. And then you hear, dang it! Ah! Minecraft is so hard!
So, yeah. Yeah, the thing I'd say about Jeremy, the brother, is I would be exhausted by this guy. Just insufferable.
Yeah, the energy he gives off in the room is just like this exuding alpha, like trying to dominate everyone, every conversation, every interaction.
Just the broiest, like, Joe Rogan listener. Ugh. Like, oh, you don't know jujitsu? You know judo? Like, ooh. Yeah. It's like, I want to crawl into the sunken place instead of listen to this guy.
I wish the sun would just envelop the earth right now.
Mm-hmm.
Take you with it.
Let's see. One of the greatest scenes is like Chris not being able to sleep and walking the halls and then going outside, and then Walter running towards the camera. And it's like a testament to how good depth of field is communicated on film, to where like you can be truly disturbed by just seeing something grow in the frame of vision. You're like, I'm going to get bowled over right now, is like how your body experiences it.
Ugh. Do you remember that scene in Terrified? With the thing in the far away, and it gets closer and closer. You're like, ah!
Right.
That was another great one. Terrified, Argentinian, 2017.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And It Follows. That's another one.
It Follows. Oh yeah. That one did it a lot.
Yeah.
Real slow.
Skipping forward. So this party happens and a bunch of white people come. I've been listening to a lot of Shane Gillis's podcast.
Uh-huh.
Matt and Shane's secret podcast. It's one of those where it's like a lot of it is just banter among friends, but there's some like real nuggets of gold that come through sometimes. But yeah, I got that from him. White people. Yeah, so he has a lot of interactions with these people at this party that are all like bizarre and like pretty seemingly overtly racist.
Yeah.
Because like white people don't know how to act around black people. So like any attempt to make them feel welcomed does the opposite reaction. So the three interactions are this old guy talking to Chris about golf and about how much he admires Tiger Woods. And he's like, let's see your form. Asking Chris to do a golf swing for him.
Dance for me.
And then he's like, what the fuck?
You know what, though? It's occurring to me right now as you're saying this, that this is my experience in most social events.
Right.
With the exception of your family. But most social events, including my own family's social events, where it's just like somebody asks just too much of you. This might not be a racist thing. This might be like a white culture thing where it's just you have a bad fucking social odometer.
Yeah,
because every I cannot even express to you how many of my family get-togethers there have been wildly inappropriate comments made to me. This is all rushing to me so quickly now. It's like, oh, like every single one. Like with my dad's family, they were just so inappropriate all the time, and everything they said just put you on total like alarm. Like during my grandfather's funeral, one of my uncles, who I had seen 20 years prior, was there. Mm-hmm. And I had my first daughter at the time, and my wife comes in, never has met this guy before, ever, this uncle of mine. And he goes, David, is that your child? I'm like, I haven't seen you since, who are you? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm your uncle, and is this your child? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and he reaches for my 1-year-old daughter, and he's like, you're my blood. And my wife recoiled. She was like, whoa, no. And she was, my wife will always like put people at ease, but even she couldn't do it. And she was like, don't touch me. Like, don't touch me. Like this shit is white people shit. Maybe it's just a cultural.
Well, there's some like universals that I think everyone can appreciate, which is number one. And that's what makes it work so well, is that it's towing the line between, is this just people being awkward in social situations, or is this specifically about this guy?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So stuff like meeting your girlfriend's family, that's just built-in awkward.
Yeah, just built
like, so you cream pie and my daughter?
Oh,
it's like,
Jesus
it's like,
Christ.
It's like, so what you do, buddy? Like, feigning interest, but everyone's really, all they're doing is like, is this person good enough for my daughter?
Putting some friction on those walls, huh?
Yeah. That's what really everyone's trying to determine. Is this person good enough to cream pie my daughter? Or my sister. So that's built in, but there's the added dimension of race in here. So the second one that happens is, and the most egregious one, is the woman just feeling him up. It's like,
God, you gave me the piss shivers.
You like, and she like turns to Rose. She's like, so you like getting fucked by this guy? It's like, Jesus Christ.
Is it true it's better?
It's like, ugh.
Bitch, what? Yes, but what?
Yes, I enjoy the experience of being filled out, but what does that have to do with? Like,
that's none of your business, though.
And then the last one is just kind of a casual conversation where a guy is talking about fair skin versus black skin.
It's in fashion to be black.
Like,
okay.
And all these conversations
again, you're not wrong, but must you say it that way?
All these conversations are completely bizarre and like, but in the context of they're going to be bidding on him to use his body,
right?
It's like, oh, it's
a meat market.
The first guy is like determining, like, am I going to get a good golf swing out of this? the woman is like, if my husband's this black dude, can he lay it down? Can he lay down some pipe?
Yeah, and the husband's like, yes, may I?
And the other guy is like, black. Black is the new white. And then finally the blind guy, which is actually the guy that bids on him, or wins the bidding, is trying to get him for his eyes because he's an artist.
Black is the new white.
And then there's the scene of the auction, which is very reminiscent of a slave auction, obviously, with the bingo cards. Really, like, gives me the piss shivers, like, thinking about some of those scenes. So that happens. He gets more and more suspicious, especially when he sees Lakeith Stanfield's character, which he recognizes and later finds out is like an actual acquaintance of his that disappeared.
Yeah.
But in the party scene, he is like, I know this guy, and he's going to take a picture to send to Rod, his TSA friend. He takes a picture and accidentally has the flash on, and the flash snaps the character out of it, and all of a sudden the blackman who's in the second place comes to the forefront and tells him to get out,
Yeah,
because he's warned. So there's a couple times where
go on, get.
There's in retrospect you realize, like, oh, all these times where like the black people are acting very weird and like something's wrong with them.
Yeah,
you realize, like, oh, that's the black person in the sunken place trying to come to the fore and communicate something. So Georgina, spills some tea, and she's like, shaking and disturbed, but she never says anything. And then Lakeith Stanfield's character is the most blatant one, where he snaps out of it and tells him to run and get
the
out.
fuck out.
And so yeah, that happens, but he finds out too late. And then finally he's like fed up and he's like, we gotta go. I'm tired of this shit. After he figures out that Lakeith's character is missing, that he just found him and he's acting bizarre.
And I'm sorry to do this to you because it's going to derail this telling of the story, but we're not mentioning my very favorite character, Rod Williams. TSA agent, played by Little Ray Howery.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the hero of the whole movie.
He's kind of like the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he's the viewer. He's like basically the black audience member. Where he's like,
yeah,
don't go to that bitch's house.
He's got a knife, bitch. Yeah. He, for me, makes this movie, it ties it together, all this serious subject matter with this perfect character who is paranoid and stupid and simple and just so happens to be dead right about every single part of the entire movie. He's the only person in the whole movie who has every single piece tied up and understood well before anyone else.
Right. What was the line that he said while they were driving in the car? He's like, don't you lick your balls or something? He says lick or like suck something.
Yeah, she's sucking on your balls? Is she licking your balls or something?
It's like sucking on your toes or something like that. Something like...
no, this is
very
balls.
Specific. Yeah.
Yeah. He's so funny.
He's great.
And
great comedic relief. Perfect counterpoint.
And at the end, when he's like... It gives it the exact right amount of comedic time, because he's sitting there in the car with his friend who just experienced murdering a whole family and like fighting for his life and dealing with all of this bullshit. He's sitting there. He's like,
I told you to get the fuck out.
I told you so. I did. I told you so. It's like this guy, the last thing he needs right now is to be, I told you so'd.
Right. So after Chris figures out something's really off, he's deciding to leave. And then he discovers as he's packing this box of photos of Rose with just a bevy of black guys and women, and discovers that in that shoebox full of black dates and friends, 2 of them are Walter and Georgina.
Right. It kind of makes you wonder. You're like, Jesus Christ.
So all of a sudden...
How much time does this bitch devote to just getting in... making super fake relationships with black people to get them to her family? Because she's been with... what's our protagonist's name? She's been with Chris for 5 months.
Right.
That's a substantial amount of time to sink into a single relationship.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, they're probably making a lot of money off of him then.
Yeah, they must be.
So he realizes it, and he's running down. And he's asking her to get the keys to the car, and she's like, "I can't find them." I'm like, all right, let's do it while we're marching. And then all of a sudden, he's surrounded by the Armitage family, and especially Jeremy is like blocking the doorway. And then finally, it's revealed Allison is in on it. She's like, I can't give you these keys, right?
And so as the audience at this point, the whole time you're like, oh, he's still got it. He's still got an ally. He's still got, He's still got his girlfriend. It's okay. And then she gives him up, and a part of you knows.
Yeah, once you see the photos, you're like, okay, something's off. Like, you as the audience know, like,
yeah,
that's not right. But also you still want to believe.
Right. Yeah. You have so much. It's all circumstantial.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like I said earlier on, Jordan Peele told Allison Williams, like, you're essentially playing 2 characters. One is Rose, which is like the perfect girlfriend, supportive, yada, yada, yada. And the other is I think you called it Roro, which is basically a psychopath or sociopath, which is you see her after the fact, after like Chris is captured, her trolling, images and stuff, and you see her just like completely devoid of emotion, and it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
And then one scene,
the way she parrots emotion on the phone.
Oh yeah, her conversation with Rod on the phone, where she sounds like Rose.
Oh no.
And she's expressing concern audibly, but you see her as being completely deadpan, visually. And you're like, oh wow, and that's super disturbing.
Oh yeah.
It's like a spy. And I love in that scene.
It makes me feel weird feelings about Allison Williams as an actress. I'm like, I don't know about how I feel about her.
I love, this is kind of a throwaway joke, I think, but on that conversation, Allison is like, I know what this is about. You want to fuck me, right? Like, we know what's going on between us.
No, she's an evil genius.
And Rod's like, no, what the fuck? And he like hangs up. He's like, she's an evil genius.
Yeah.
Because the implication is like, of course I want to fuck this white bitch. Who wouldn't want to fuck Allison Williams? I mean, like,
yeah.
And you realize, like,
she's an evil genius.
That is the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, you said, like, she's thinking a lot of time. But also at the same time, isn't that the most believable thing? It's like, oh, you're a super attractive white girl. Like, isn't that the most powerful power you can have on just men in general, probably?
Yeah.
Like, just follow me. Okay.
All right. I don't know if it necessarily has to be white. I'd say if you're a girl, you have a great deal of power over me.
Right. If you're a super attractive female.
Well, doesn't even really have to be that.
Is that going to... Okay. So that happens, and then we're shown... So the ending, I got to say, like, it's so earned. Like, all of the build-up and the dread and, like, the paranoia builds to the point where it doesn't matter what it actually ends up being. You're going to buy into it. And this is like I always use Jaws as the example of, like, they build up all this dread and anticipation to where it's hard to stand back at the end and like point out how stupid it is that the ending is they explode a big old shark.
Yeah.
Oh, they just blowed it up. That's what you're leading to. And in this movie, it's like such an absurd ending of like, oh, they're swapping bodies. They're just putting the other person's brain in his body.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, oh no.
I'm totally bought in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's a good point. It takes a real expert at storytelling to achieve you buying into this degree, and it earns it.
Right. There's a couple last things. So, ultimately, Chris gets to ask the question of why black people, and the answer is so telling in how innocuous and unthinking it is, which is like, I don't know. Some people want different things. Like, they just want to change it up. Like, maybe some people want to look cooler. Some of them want to be faster or stronger.
Some just want eyesight.
Yeah.
Some just want sometimes it has nothing to do with your skin color at all.
To where it's like the communication is like, the most frightening thing is like, why are you doing these horrible, horrible things to black people? And the answer that the white people has is like, I don't know. Which is like, I mean, if you're experiencing, systemic racism or just the othering and marginalization of a bunch of white people, and if you're like, why do you act this way around me? Why do I have this position in society? And the answer is like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
That's the most unsatisfying and frightening thing. It's just like, oh, they're not doing it intentionally. This is just how they are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's so much more impactful than having like the racist Mississippi, plantation owning family
who has opinions about I do it because
blacks are the inferior race and I want to control them.
Well, I am going to cut that right out of this episode.
Really glad I used an accent, so it can't be attributed to me specifically. So that's like kind of telling and also more frightening. And then the other kind of notable thing, a notable thing and kind of the throwaway thing. The throwaway thing that I didn't really notice until second viewing is the fact that they have candles in the OR. That the reason why the house gets caught on fire is that they just have like these basically ceremonial candles in the OR. And when Bradley Whitford gets stabbed with the deer head, he trips over one and it causes a fire.
Yeah, what's that about?
It's a nice touch. Just like, oh yeah, now it's on fire. And that's what happens. But the fact that they have candles in this operating room, it's not just a procedure. It's like, this is a ritual, I
guess,
for this secret society. And the last notable thing, and this was intentional, was that when he's locked in this chair, you see him like picking at the armrest.
Yes.
And it's intentional that to use the image of picking cotton from the chair.
Oh my!
And specifically, Jordan Peele said, even though normally those would be like polyester, like he specifically put in cotton fibers.
It's ghastly.
And that's actually what saved him because of irony. So Get Out is fantastic. It holds up. Like if people take issue with like this movie of saying like, oh, it's woke, it's like just trying to, make a big thing out of, or make racial relations worse. It's like that. I feel like you can't have that take without coming from a real cynical or bad faith perspective on it, because it's so subtle and nuanced that like it works on so many levels that I feel it's just an excellent portrayal of being gaslit and having that experience portrayed in a way that's utterly believable but also fantastical.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people are just kind of where they are, you know, at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
And some people won't be able to deal with this.
Yeah.
If you try and make them, they're going to be fucking angry.
Yeah.
You know? And that's fine. I mean, it's just what it is. It's not good or bad. It's just not even... It's just how things are, you know?
Yeah.
And so I go, yeah, I mean, I guess it is a great conversation starter
mm-hmm.
and a masterclass in gaslighting.
Yeah.
And in movie making, just... It's so confounding that this is his first movie. It always blows my socks off when people like Jordan Peele or Ari Aster or Robert Eggers come out with these first movies just being like, not just a fabulously good movie, but like a genre defining, like, oh, this is what we set the time to thing, where it's like, how did you fucking manage that?
I don't know, it's almost distinctly notable for Jordan Peele, because the difference between Ari Aster and Robert Eggers and Jordan Peele is that Eggers and Aster, I just group them as
they're
like
what?
They're film nerds. Like, they spent their whole life, you know, aspiring to do this. Like, I'm going to make film and make something notable, and they have these ideas that are fully fleshed out. And Jordan Peele obviously has that too, but he had an entire career, like decades of a career, as a different creative thing, which is specifically like sketch comedy.
But a lot of sketch comedy, and in particular his sketch comedy, is this lane. It's social commentary.
Well, yeah, it's social commentary, but you look at your strengths and you're like, oh, that's where, not to like, you know,
I see what you mean.
Put him in a lane, but like, you look at like Adam Sandler or, you know, like, you know, one of these talented writers. Maybe not Adam Sandler, but like
Adam Sandler's a fucking
Tina Fey or
writer.
someone that's like a super talented comedic writer, and do you expect them to be able to come out with like a genre define and like notable just standalone film that has nothing to do with improvised comedy, you know? And it's so impressive that way. Same thing with Daniel Glover, which is he's so notably good as a comedic actor, and then all of a sudden out of the blue he's like a super talented musician, where it's like, wow, he's got like several singles that are like some of my favorite songs, and then also creates a TV series that's a drama, but just like absurdist thing. It's just so many different things that you realize, like, oh, you just shouldn't, for creative people that are really good at what they do, especially in the creative field, just, you shouldn't put guardrails on what your expectations of them are, because you look at musicians or actors and you realize, like, they're not necessarily interested in being specialized. They're just creative, and they love the world of entertainment. And so Jordan Peele, the reason why he did Get Out was like, he always loved the horror genre, and he always like wanted to do that. And so it's just a testament to, like, don't pigeonhole yourself. Do what you love and what you want to do, because if you...
I'm so confused because that's specifically how you started off, by pigeonholing Eggers and Astor. You're like, yeah, but they've wanted to do this forever. They're really creative and good at the thing that they've wanted to do for a long time.
I mean, I have a perspective around people that are film students are like investing in themselves to do specifically like auteur filmmaking. And neither one of them showed, interest in acting that I know of, or other things. Like, sure, I'm making assumptions, but I'm saying, like, from the background that you have about those two, they're coming out as freshman movie makers, with either a background in short films or, like, off the bat, it's obvious that they're dedicating their lives to do this. Whereas Jordan Peele, it's like, if I were to know nothing about him, I would assume, like, oh, you've put a lot of work into being a sketch comedian and being an improv, like, comedy performer.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. But but to their credit, I think Ari and Robert are a lot younger than Peele, so maybe they're gonna come out with a fucking sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're just on the upshot. I don't know. Anyway, we're saying the same thing in different ways, as always. Get Out. Go watch it if you haven't already. You all have. Well, who am I joking? Everybody's seen this fucking movie.
Get out and watch Get Out.
Get out and get in and get up and
get
around.
in, get out and get up and get down.
Get sexual. Get on with your life.
Go on, get
on with the show. Here we go. Okay.
So who do you recommend?
Everybody, go get it. Go get it.
Thanks, everyone. Oh, wait. No. Taglines.
Oh, yay, David. Yay.
Do you have taglines? I never have.
No.
I have it.
Here's taglines.
No, David. Honestly, David, it's like a witch's house in here, David.
Taglines. This is a little bit that we do where we come up with new, interesting, or different, or cringy, or funny, or stupid taglines for the movie that we just got done reviewing. So here it is. Taglines.
How many you got?
I have 3.
Okay.
My first tagline goes a little something like this. Get out. Fuck Whitey.
So I'll use this one since you already basically
stole your other
it.
3.
So Get Out. They aren't racist. They have a black friend.
Yeah. I like that I can say that I'm not racist because I don't have a black friend.
Right.
Like, the way you know that I'm not racist is I'm not going to make that statement to you.
Right.
Because it would be a lie.
Right.
If I do make that statement to you, I'm a racist.
Right.
Get Out. How many white people does it take to oppress an entire race? I don't know. This many? The Armitage family.
Kind of trailed off there.
It's the light bulb joke. Come on.
Oh, okay. Get Out. Seems so easy when you're in the audience to know when to get out. You know?
Wow. Yeah, no, I know how you felt. This last one doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know. I think spell check got me.
Should be good. No, here, I'll read another one of mine.
It won't be good at all.
I'll read another one of mine as you prepare. Get Out. The White Gaze Simulator.
The White Gaze?
Mm-hmm.
What's the white gaze?
Well, it's just as it sounds. You know, the male gaze. Have you heard of that terminology?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the white gaze.
Oh.
It's like if you're
it's not like the gay people.
If you're a person of color and you just experience white people, like, giving you the side eye.
It's the only gays I know here in the Portland metro area. There's only white gays out here.
Did you watch Norm's new special?
You know what? I tried. And it was very sad for me. And I couldn't. I was very sad.
Yeah.
I was extremely emotional, and it made me upset.
Oh. I was just so happy to get new material. But he has a joke in there about Portland specifically. About racism. He's like, yeah, I went to Portland and like they make it a real point to like tell you how not racist they are. And like my Uber driver's like, "Oh yeah, we're not racist here. Like we don't that's not really a big thing here." And Norm's looking around, he's like, doesn't see any black people around. He's like, "Well, I mean,
of course you're not.
There's no, it doesn't seem like there's any people of color here anyways." And the driver turns to him and says, "We got our share."
Okay. Shit. No, actually, they don't have their share. They don't, because the funny thing about Portland was it was one of the, I think maybe the very last city in America to become unsegregated.
Well, Oregon has a very racist history.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Real racist.
Yeah.
I transplanted here from San Francisco. So this is the only time you'll ever hear me say that.
Yeah. Oregon, like if you assign real estate contracts, like you'll see the historical like lease information where it's like
redlining.
Yeah, you can't, only for white people, no blacks get this property, which, is obviously illegal. Which is interesting that you can't just, remove that stuff from the historical. But that's important to know. Did you have your last one?
I think about that special. No, I don't have it. It's incomprehensible. The thing that got me about that Norm special was the format that it's in. It's
right.
Him staring into the camera, and you get to see his eyes very distinctly. The whole thing is just him staring at you with kind of this. It's just too much. It's like, whoa, because I just got done watching Love on the Spectrum, and they avert their eyes, from having to look. And that makes it a lot easier for me. Who knows why? I can't figure this one part of me out. It's like, why can't I deal with the staring people in the eyes kind of thing? But, yeah, and then it just made him feel really super human. All of a sudden, it's like just the humanity in him, like, shone through, and how much he wanted his shit to land without an audience there, and like for you, and I just kept thinking like, oh, he knew what was coming.
Yeah, I mean the whole premise of it was like he wanted to get it down in case something went bad, which it did. He just got progressively worse and he couldn't film it live. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is like it's I'm so happy that he did that just for posterity, that at least it gets out there in some form. But obviously, like, it's not ideal because he's a stand-up, and like the audience is such an important part of it, especially for Norm. Like, so much of his energy on stage is from reaction and timing against like
the reaction.
Right.
It's so vividly obvious in that special.
So in this, he's just filming himself in front of the camera, and there's no audience, and he's reading the material and delivering it, but it's such a different format to where even the delivery is affected by it. I still laughed out loud at several parts. There's several things that were just the funniest.
It just takes one beat longer, which is a little bit too long for it to...
See, I have the inverse. I thought he was going too quick.
He was going too... What I'm saying, he was definitely going too quick because he didn't have that reaction. But also, my realization of each joke was a beat too late. You know, so it really set that the timing was way off in two ways, in the direction of him and me. You know, it was too fast for me or too fast for him and too slow for me.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, the experience is more akin to like an audiobook, which...
What's the, is the end part just crushing with his, people recollecting? You know?
It was interesting. It feels like kind of like an afterthought, and it was kind of like, this was not... It was cool seeing them reminisce about Norm, but definitely some of them were kind of monopolizing the time. I wish I could have heard more from David Spade, which probably has the closest relationship to him out of all of them that were there.
Spade talks a bit about Norm on his recent appearance on the Theo Vaughn podcast.
Yeah.
This past weekend. But, it should be noted, we recorded this one way, way, way in advance. So the stuff that we're talking about, probably not super timely. Anyhow.
But yeah, Conan was on it. He was talking a lot because Conan talks a lot. Dave Chappelle was on it, and he talked a lot because he feels a lot of what he says is very profound, which sometimes it is. And David Letterman was there. David Letterman was kind of the one that was like kind of the Debbie Downer of like, yeah, this wasn't stand-up. Like, it sucks that we can't see. I don't know what this was, but it wasn't a stand-up set. Which is fair. Like, is having respect towards the
David Letterman
the artistry.
David Letterman is more David, the creator of Seinfeld. Who's that?
Oh, Larry David.
Larry David. He's more Larry David than Larry David. He's like this fucking like, don't bother me. Like
yeah, David Letterman is such a conundrum. Like, I don't even know what to make of him, and I don't even care to figure out what the deal with David Letterman is, because it's not interesting enough for me to be like, oh, this is the character he has behind scenes. Like, the point is he just doesn't.
Right.
Molly Shannon was on it. Was Adam Sandler there? Yes, Adam Sandler was there.
Oh, wow.
Adam Sandler probably had the best story that he...
Adam Sandler's the best storyteller.
Yeah.
Have you seen Spade's latest stand-up?
Uh-huh.
Not great.
I liked... I mean, a lot of it's kind of recycled. Like, a lot of it's, like, bits that I've seen him do before.
It's just not impressive compared to other comedians right now. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think the best thing that he did, which is unfortunate that it got canceled, like, I thought
that
he
fucking
was the
show?
best at that show.
Oh, my God. It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense how that got canceled.
Yeah.
It's like, this is his lane.
He still did it on YouTube. I don't know if he's still doing it on YouTube. The monologues is what he called it. But basically had writers still come up with like the commentary on current affairs or whatever.
Events, yeah.
But man, the monologue was like fantastic. It's one of the best monologues. But also like the format of just shooting the shit with other super funny people talking about the current events and stuff. That was great. But yeah, it was kind of, the ending was bittersweet. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was just, I wanted to eat up as much Norm content as I could. And there's more out there. Like you can find sets of him doing stuff, pretty recently, after the
pandemic,
the last couple years. Like they reference a really awesome set he does right on the cusp of like all the shutdowns, and it's just him commenting on the pandemic, and it's just one of the funniest takes on it, where he's like, well, I mean, I guess, we all know what we're going to die of now. I should look that up, but it's that stuff wasn't on there, but it's so topical, and this is one of those circumstances where I'm so glad I got to see him live. Like, that was the last time he was in Portland. I think it was the last time he was in Portland. But, yeah. R.I.P. Norm Macdonald.
Get out.
And my last tagline. No, I'll leave it at that. So thank you so much for listening. Go to horrormovietalk.com and find our shop. If you want to support us, go to our Patreon and become a patron there. You'll get access to all sorts of perks, including commercial-free episodes, early access. Also get access to our Afterpod, which is a whole separate podcast where me and David just kind of shoot the shit, become a little more vulnerable, to be honest. And also sometimes yell at each other for petty bullshit. So, until next time, stay spoopy. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
Take a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face! Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.